This video is going to be about some random questions here and there that I've been getting from different followers and subscribers on like Instagram and YouTube. They have to deal with like money, relationships, where I live, some questions about my transition from undergrad. So I'm going to kind of jumble those all in together and kind of answer those questions individually, and hopefully it's kind of is cohesive. I don't know if it will be, but your questions will be answered, especially to Chris Malone. You gave me a lot of good questions, so I'm going to answer them in this video. A huge question that I get a lot is about money. And the first thing I want to say is that CRNA school is such a good investment. You're investing in yourself. You are literally taking out a loan, if you need a loan. You are using it to pay for school, and then when you graduate, you're going to be making you can make upwards of 4 times what you were making as a nurse, probably way more, depending on where you lived in the country. So I'll tell you a little bit how it works. Where I go to school, it's super expensive. There's no way around it. I had a choice to go to a school where I would get in-state tuition and it'd be super cheap. But you know what? I chose what I chose. And I will say that no matter where you're going, you can take loans out. There will be loans for you. There's money for you. Money is one of those topics where it's definitely dependent on the person. Whether you have a family or if you're single, if you're married, if you don't have any help at all, you have to do what is right for you. If you have a family, I highly advise taking out a loan. Like I said, it's an investment. You can pay it back later when you're making buku money and oh, I'll pay back that loan now. Because you can. So don't let the cost of CRNA school scare you, because you can survive. That's something that I realized, how much money I was spending as a nurse on just frivolous things. I don't have nearly as much money coming in, and I'm pretty much living the same, pretty comfortably. So again, don't let the total cost, if it's hundreds of thousands or 50,000 of school, deter you from starting CRNA school. I don't think that's a good enough reason. Even with kids, I don't have kids and I won't speak for everybody, but you will be adding something to your kids' lives after you're finished. So don't let that deter you. I'm not a student aid FAFSA rep, but I can tell you how it's been working for me. When I started school, I applied for a loan through the U.S. government, Fed loans or whatever. I also applied for a scholarship grant from my school. That's pretty little chunk of change compared to how much school costs, but you get that. The government aid will cover your entire cost of tuition. So, and then you'll get a stipend on top of that. So my stipend covers my car payment. I have a car payment. I have a Jeep Wrangler. It covers that. It covers my food, living. Granted, it's not as much as where you are living and balling out on your nurse salary. But it's doable. You get a roommate, and it's affordable, depending on where you live. Like me, I'm in North Carolina, so stuff is cheaper in comparison to, say, Northern Virginia, where stuff is fairly expensive. Again, it's just dependent on where you're living. Did I save for CRNA school? No. I did not. No, I was taking trips all the time. No, I did not save at all. But here I am, still living life. I have classmates who did save money enough for the whole semester. I don't know how, kudos to them, because granted, I didn't work that long either. I was a nurse for a total of almost 2 years by the time I started CRNA school. So I didn't have the time that a lot of people had to save. But if you can, and you're thinking about this goal now, shoot, you can save up for CRNA school, especially if you're going to a school where it's 30 grand, 50 grand. I know it sounds like a lot, but say you save a grand a month for 50 months, that's a few years. Okay, say you save 2 grand, if you put it in your mind how much you want to save, you will save it, and then by the time you start taking CRNA school, you're gonna be whoa, I'm so glad I did this. Just have your goal in mind. If you want to start saving, save. If you don't, Are you able to have time to join clubs or groups on campus, exercise, or work? That last one, work. Absolutely not. I, without a doubt, would never, ever suggest working while you're in CRNA school. I don't see in my program how I could do it. Like the amount of time spent or needed to be spent for me on studying, being at school, thinking about, tests and all that was so tremendous. I wouldn't have been able to work a shift and been successful. By working, I mean working as a nurse doing a 12-hour shift. I was a rover walker on that app and I walked dogs for 30 minutes. I was able to make some quick cash. You could be a babysitter, and that was an easy way to make quick cash as well. You get to pick your schedule. Like we have these logs that we take of our hours, and my class time, I had a total of 140 hours. I'll put a picture of it. 140 hours of class time, probably a little bit more if I might not have did my log all the way. And then about 480 hours of study time. That's strictly study time that I logged myself. And a lot of times I didn't even like count all the way. I just put a number in, and I usually would come home and study some more. So that is a time requirement. And you guys can do the math. I'm not about to sit here and do the math and divide it up by week, whatever. But that's big time commitment. So if you can work in through that, more power to you. I cannot. I could not. So, as for like exercise in clubs, there's time. I think you can fit in an hour a day, depending on how much you want to exercise. There's time for, you make time for what you want to do. Like me, a lot of my time and effort was spent for studying, having some downtime just to watch a movie here and there, YouTube, making videos for you guys, going hiking, occasionally going to the gym, yoga. You fit time in, intramural sports. But as for like extracurricular clubs, I have seen that not turn out so well. Because once you start dividing yourself up and spreading yourself too thin, you can't put as much energy into the most important thing that you need to. And then you get distracted and your grades start slipping. So you have to be very selective with what you spend your time on. I got a question about my housing situation. In Durham, North Carolina, as with like a lot of cities, you can live in the city and spend money staying in this brand new apartment complex they built. You can go on Craigslist and find someone renting out their home or their condo or their apartment, which is what I typically like to do. I don't like dealing with apartment companies. I like dealing with an owner. They tend to be pretty responsive, but also they own the place and they take a lot of pride in what they own, and they'll try to work with you. What I meant to say here is that landowners and landlords will try and work with you, meaning if something happens to you, say you need to leave your lease early or you're leaving school or something's not happening, they're more inclined to do something that will benefit both of you in the long run. So in Durham, I live in a triplex. Technically, it's not a duplex. There's like 3 units in this one. We have like a joint shared backyard. It was renovated recently with modern, like, updates, whatever, yada, yada, yada. But except for breaks, I think I spent more time at the school than in my own home. So I didn't find it completely necessary to like spend an exorbitant amount of money on a place that you won't even be staying at, especially when you later down the road in CRNA school when you have to travel for rotations. There's no point to be spending a bunch of money on a place you will barely be at. Because depending on your school, you might have to pay for your housing. Mine luckily provides us housing that we can stay at. So, what would you tell your younger BSN undergrad self about CRNA school? Live it up. And I say this with the utmost respect to those in nursing school right now, nursing school instructors, but I'm being completely honest. When I personally graduated from nursing school, I didn't know a thing. I I didn't know anything about real true floor nursing. I knew book things, but I learned the most on the job, honestly. And just like that, you can't prepare yourself for CRNA school. There's You can't. You can't go pick up your textbook and start reading it. Like, there's no point. Enjoy the time. Enjoy being a nurse. Enjoy learning to be a nurse if you're in school and undergrad. Take it for what it is. Learn what you need to know. If you want to go above and beyond, so be it. But me looking back on my journey here and being in CRNA school now, I'm trying to remember if there's something that I learned in undergrad that I was able to apply now, content wise. I'll tell you one thing I did learn is that you can't cram study in CRNA school. I definitely did a lot of cramming in undergrad. That won't work here. I miss walking into the floor and getting my patient, seeing what I can do to help them get fluid off if they're on HD, or how I can help their heart rate, or just things like that. I kind of miss that a little bit, but I'm on to the next level. I'm on.